Alex, it's so amazing to have you here again. My niece, Alex Doucet, and there's been an enormous journey that you've been on with, at 25, you were diagnosed with breast cancer. And then at 32, you heard the news again, and that it had spread. And so I want to talk a little bit deeper. I really just want to talk personal, like outside of the diagnosis, outside of the long journey, the pain. I really want to talk about from your perspective. What was your story? What was your journey personally walking through it? So definitely want to go much deeper. So it's a bit more real. Okay. So we're just going to be in a raw place. And so I just want to kind of prepare you with that. So some of the things that where you were, that's really you just want to find out, because a lot of times people go through things or they're in their process, and it doesn't have to be just cancer. Right. It could be any storm, any trial. And so there's always that raw place behind the scene of, because you always are up and you're always encouraging other people, even though they're trying to encourage you for your journey, and you're over there blessing them, making them always leave them better than the way you found them, and they're trying to encourage you. So that is your natural, is to be up and push. But we all know that you're real, and that you do have places, even as you praying and you were growing in the Lord, and especially the second go round, it was a game changer because it got real for you real quick. And not just in your life, but more importantly, with your walk with the Lord, got real. Right. And so with that, I just wanted to kind of to open up with, we're talking about the second diagnosis and spreading, and now you're in an enormous amount of pain. Like we talked about before, that the first time you weren't in pain, you just had a lump, and so that's kind of how it started. But now you're in excruciating pain, and so you're dealing with the real raw fact that my body is not okay. And so how did you handle the fear, just the raw fear of that moment?
So just a little backstory. So I was having pain November 2022, but months before that, my marriage was at its all-time low. So yes, there's the diagnosis, but then there's also, like you said, personal walk and like personal life issues were still going on in the midst of the diagnosis. So just a little backstory. Kate and I have been through a whole lot, and we've been married. This October will be 11 years.
Wow.
Whenever we first got together, he was going through a divorce. We moved in at a very young age, got pregnant at a very young age. So we each had baggage bringing it into our marriage and not really fully knowing each other. It took me probably, right off the bat, when he moved in with me, I was living with my cousin. He moved into, it was a 3-bedroom house. I knew he took sleeping medicine. He took Ambien. So I didn't fully know what that was. I didn't know the severity of it. Ambien is something that you need to go to sleep within 7 minutes, basically, when you take it. So I saw patterns of, like, he would stay awake on it. And it just, it got to the point where, like, it was just funny at that point, because the hallucinating was there and stuff. So then we have kids. We have a 3 and a 1-year-old whenever I first got diagnosed. And the taking pills led to the drinking was there also, and then just patterns. And like when we first got together, I was drinking and I was partying. We were wild. So that's just kind of like what brought us together. And then, getting diagnosed, you back away from it because you're fighting for your health. And then the second time whenever I got diagnosed, that's whenever my faith was getting stronger, and I was trying to cut out the old me and, die to self. But the marital struggles were still there, and his patterns were still there. And that's whenever it got super, super real. Whenever the drinking, to put it into perspective, a handle of Tito's, like a big $30 bottle of Tito's, would last 2 to 3 days.
What is Tito's?
Tito's is vodka. Tito's vodka. So a big handle of vodka was lasting 2 to 3 days. So the drinking was super, super heavy. With that came a lot of stress and anger and there was other, like, a mixture of other things that was going on. Also, some pills were involved. So I've never dealt with addiction. I didn't have that in my family, so that was just something new for me. So getting diagnosed and having stress, personally, that instantly was just anger built up inside of him. And having a diagnosis at a young age, the person you need the most is not emotionally, mentally there for you.
Wow.
So in that moment, when you just want to hug, it's anger, it's yelling, it's you're upset because we've already walked through it. The 2 hour, the drive is long. The appointments are going to be long. The wait's long. Nothing's easy. It's going to take a year or two to do treatment. Like, everything is just long and so unknown, but we were already familiar, so this time was different. So, just the marital struggles were really, really bad.
So, and then I'm assuming that there wasn't a lot you could really share because you don't want to share too much of that to mom and dad, because...
I told nobody.
Right. And so you can't really tell your sisters that y'all are super close. And because it would be, even worse, right? To expose all of that. So you're dealing with a lot very privately on top of everything else.
Yes.
So how did the children cope?
So the kids were young. They were 3 and 1 whenever I got diagnosed the first time. So this time they knew, like, we've talked about it. So they knew about, like, kind of what I went through, but now they're older at this time. I think they were 9 and 7. So now it's new. They would see pictures of them with me when I was bald the first time, but now it's like stage 4. You hear stage 4 and you just think the absolute worst. And, more chemo. I know that I'm not my best self, obviously, when I'm going through chemo. I'm at an all-time low. All you do is you just want to be there for your kids, and you want to be like a present mom, and that ties you down to the bedroom. You're tired. You're nauseated. You don't feel well, So, the kids, shy baby. And they stayed so positive through it all. And, of course, like, my family did a great job keeping them busy and keeping them just, like, upbeat. But, I'm sure it did take a toll on them.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And y'all are very close, and they do a really good job of, I know, like, even just cooking with you, and they're very intimate children. They're not always, I feel like they have such sweet spirits, and they've been through a lot, and you can just tell that the Lord has really kept them pure and innocent and just really present in your life. I think that's really been awesome too. And so tell me how your parents and your sisters coped.
So we're very close. Me and my sisters are very close. Whitney is more of a you got this kind of girl. Like, of course, there's the initial crying that everybody's upset, and it's just like shock factor, the why factor. But as soon as she's like, "You're doing this. You're going to do this," like, she's pumping me up, ready for war kind of thing. Bailey and I are, she lives here. Whitney lives away, so Bailey's here. So she takes on my my feelings are hers. They're not my own. So she really took them on to herself. And during that time, we were already going through a lot, and she was going through a lot, and so was Whitney as well. So our family, that year was rough. 2023 was not a great year for us. So there was a lot of turnaround in that year, a lot of growth in that year. But my sisters, one's up, one's feeling it with me. So. And
what about your mom and dad?
My dad just got quiet. Like, whenever when he's off and when he's quiet, something's off.
Yeah.
So when he would just get quiet, and he's super emotional, but he would just get quiet, and ultimately just I'm their kid. They're just worried for me. Yeah. But also, you can't fix a kid going through a diagnosis when there's so many unknowns. And then with mom, Bailey and her, like, very alike. She took on my problems, and I'm sure as a mother, I couldn't even imagine having your daughter diagnosed, not just once but twice, and then hearing the diagnosis. But she has a lot of anxiety because my gosh, what she's been through.
We've all been through a lot.
Every single time I've gotten diagnosed or found out, they've been out of town. So it was almost just like a fear, like they don't even want to leave at this point, because every time I've told them, they're like 9 hours away. They're trying to travel. They're to the end of their career. So,
but I know that in the process of all of this, and there was another tragedy in the family in the midst of the rawness of all of this, and so God did a real miraculous breakthrough in your family, where I feel like doesn't mean that y'all weren't real,
right.
but I feel like y'all got raw spiritually with each other, not just just in the natural. And so y'all had a real breakthrough spiritually as a family. So I just want you to kind of share just a little bit of that.
So I got diagnosed early 2023. And then what also happened to Bailey, I don't want to take away from her testimony, but what also happened to Bailey happened in July of that year.
Okay.
So that was a rough year. I think it was right before I went to Mexico. It was right after what happened to Bailey and that situation. That's whenever we were like, it is spiritual warfare. That's when it got really real.
Yeah.
And that's whenever the scripture of saying we don't wrestle against flesh and blood, that got real. And and it's war at that moment.
Yeah.
Like you have one kid fighting for a life, and then we lost a life. So it's like, it's so real at that moment.
Yeah.
And that's whenever it got serious about you're anointing your house, you're praying over your house, pray over your kids, pray over this. Mom and dad, pray over us. Like we all just got, I'm getting emotional, but like we all just got so, it's like an anger, but anger toward the enemy.
A righteous indignation.
Yes. So that it just got so real, and it was war at that moment, and it was spiritual, and y'all
took authority.
Yeah.
And I really feel like that's what I was able to witness, of seeing y'all love each other and be vulnerable with your emotions, but yet saying we're taking authority, and this is not going to be our story, our destiny. We may have gone through this, but this is not going to be where we're going to lay down and die here.
Right.
You know what I mean? We're changing history right here, and for the legacy of
our children.
Yes,
and generations
absolutely.
to come. Absolutely.
And we're gonna do this, and I really saw that take place. And so after all of that, and y'all really walking in the authority, I just want to, because you still had the stuff going on at home, you still couldn't be too honest about all of that. So where did you find your peace?
Alone. And it wasn't isolation alone. My prayers had gotten so deep, and I had countless MRIs. Honestly, it was probably in an MRI machine whenever I'm like, that's whenever my prayers, like I specifically remember I was in a portable building in Houston. I think it was like Bel Air location. I'm in a portable building MRI. The nurse is not updating me because I'm very claustrophobic. The nurse is not updating me, and I'm just like, I'm crying. I'm bawling, crying, and I'm like, and that's whenever I'm like, why am I going through this again? Why? And I literally felt so suffocated in that moment, and just, he's not updating me. I had fell asleep. I woke up from a nap, and I'm like, do I have 45 minutes left, or do I have 2 minutes? I don't know. Like, he's not updating me, and I don't want to push the button and stop the machine and have to restart. Like, I just didn't know. But it was in that moment where I'm like, Lord, just use me. If you're like, and I literally told him, I'm like, if you're not going to heal me, because I've been crying out for that and you're not doing it. Like, I was mad. That's whenever I just got super mad. I'm like, if you're not going to heal me, then just use me. Use me however you want. And at this time, I was active on social media. I was trying to keep people updated. It was just the changing of the prayers really shifted for me. And then going home and, having negativity or just like the outside influences or, just whatever it was. Just knowing that, like, I'm praying for something very specific, and I know the Lord's going to use me. I just don't know how at this moment. So that's really what changed it for me. The prayers changed him.
I just love that. And tell me a little bit after, like I said, that powerful encounter, and for y'all really taking authority in your family for generations, and your legacy. How did the bond with you and your sisters, of course your mom and dad as well, but the tenderness of the girls, I know that's so healing even for a mom and dad to see the beauty of their children bonding like that. In all of you dealing with your own rawness of your own lives going on, how did you feel like God used that in your sisters?
Like Bailey and Whitney tell me, they're like, the way you handled this changed me. But then I see the way Bailey handled her situation. I'm like, you can't get any more raw than that. And and then seeing Whitney, you know what I mean? Like, so we
Yeah.
all, like you said, we had our own things going on, and we just watched each other, we analyzed each other, and of course we were rooting for each other the whole entire time. So we were already super close before, but in that moment, like, we're moms now, you know, and we have kids of our own, and we've always heard the term like generational curses or familiar spirits or learned behavior, but never took too much thought into it.
Yeah.
So now just like fighting, and then that's when we were like, we're doing this, you know,
Wow.
and we're doing this for our kids. We're breaking this for our kids'
Come
sake.
on.
So that's what really brought us together.
I love that. So then it's amazing when you start seeing the testimonies of God bringing fruit and breakthrough, and you see the strength in the answered prayers, even with each other. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And it just really fans the flame of seeing that it works, you know, that God is moving. But not only that, I'm changing. I'm changing. My perspective is changing, and how I'm processing and how I'm healing and how I am responding to life, you know, because you still are having some things in your own home that you're dealing with in spite of it all. But I just really saw such a powerful depth to you in that place. And so I want to talk about being on the backside of that, and just like the unknown. Is the unknown, especially for a mother, because you're thinking about your life and your marriage, your children, when they get married, how do you handle with the unknown?
My faith is so strong in this moment. Like, I know God has healed me, and I'm very confident to say that. But I'm also, like, we had some very raw and real talks about death. And death is so not talked about, and it's so, like, it's awkward to talk about. But whenever I mentioned, look, I know I'm not dying, and I'm not, and I know that I'm healed, but also I know this life is so temporary.
Yeah.
So that's when you don't have a fear of dying.
Yeah.
And you know that there's eternal life after that.
Yeah.
Like, that just, it made, like, I found such a, like, supernatural peace, and just being diagnosed, it's just like, it's okay. Like, if you're diagnosed, it's okay. And I think we're so taught, like, you know, Western medicine, just like in the States or, you know, wherever, it's just, when you're diagnosed, you're dying. You're absolutely, like, you're done. And that's the mindset. And absolutely people think that, like, you have to do this. You have, like, I was taught in Mexico, just calm down.
Wow.
Mexico, I mean, cancer did not come to you overnight. You were not diagnosed. You know, you didn't just get it yesterday and you're not diagnosed today. It's probably been stirring up for a while. And honestly, it wasn't until, like, Kate and I's marriage was super bad. There was a lot of, I think 7 total years is what Kate and I, he was drinking super heavy for 7 years before we had a breakthrough. But also, I wasn't perfect during it. I struggled with lust was my big thing. And there was things that I was missing from my husband, and would tell my husband I'm missing these things, but he wasn't willing to change.
Yeah.
And told me, you knew the man you were marrying, that's not me. So in this moment, I lost my hair. I get hair again, like the glow up phase. And my husband's verbally saying, I'm not going to give you what you want. That's not me. So, you know, me being young and I have hair again, I feel in myself, well, I'm going to probably find it. And just hiding that, and him not knowing for so many years. And it was just emotional. I just needed emotion. Like, give me some emotion. I don't need anger. I need you just to be there for me.
Yeah.
And I would seek that out in other men. There wasn't physical. It was just emotional. I just need someone to be sweet to me. But also in this time, I was praying.
And how dangerous that is.
It's so dangerous.
Yeah.
So dangerous. And you get so caught up. And I'm
justifying it.
Oh my gosh. And, like, comparing his sin, like, he's an alcoholic, he's this. I'm just doing it because I'm lacking, you know, like, and minimizing my sin versus his. And just that was a big struggle. And
but I feel like the crossroad that you had, then you got to really let go of those things that stalked you all your life. I'm not saying that everything is always perfection, but the thing is, you finally let the old self go and just saying, this is how I'm going to believe and live, and I'm partnering with you, Lord, all the way. I love that. So with that just looking back at the whole thing, what would you wish somebody would have told you when you were first diagnosed? Like, not so much about the technical side of it, but like the raw side of it.
Honestly, when I was first diagnosed, I don't think I would have even listened because I wasn't spiritually where I am now. And I'm still, obviously still growing. I have a lot to learn because I feel like y'all were praying over me, and I went to healing service after healing service. I feel like the Lord knows me like personally, and he knows that I'm hard-headed, and he knows I have to walk through the fire to get it. And, but if I could say anything, that prayer does work.
Yeah.
And spiritual warfare is real. And to just keep your family covered in prayer. That's the main thing. And if someone told me that, I may not have even listened. But looking back now, I wish I just would have had a better understanding. And, just having a relationship with the Lord would have obviously made it all better.
Right. Do you feel like you really trust the Lord now?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
With trusting, how do I want to ask this for you? Fully trusting him, fully being vulnerable with him, and surrendering all. But how do I want?
And then every area too. Like, I've had to battle that with my health, but then I do get caught up. Like, he healed me, and I know I'm healed. But then it's like my marriage, and it's like I feel like I'm trying to take control of certain things, and then I have to catch myself. I'm like, fully surrender. He wants that area too, giving him that. And then like financially, I'm like, he wants that too, so having to, that's a struggle. And I know it's a struggle for everybody, but having to remind myself to fully die to myself every single day. And the flesh is strong, and the enemy's tactics. I mean, he knows, he knows your weaknesses. So having to fully remind myself every single day to die to self is huge. But yes, absolutely trust the Lord.
I noticed like through my journey and living, I feel like no one ever taught me this. I really feel like the Holy Spirit taught me as I've gotten older. But I knew him in trauma because my trauma started very early in my life. I knew him, and when I got saved and I fully surrendered, I was young. And I knew him in trauma. I knew him in the battle and the fire. And I knew him in different aspects. I knew him as a comforter. I knew him, in all different facets. But as you serve the Lord longer, you may okay, well, I don't know you as healer. I know you as comforter.
Right.
I know you as protector or whatever. I don't know you as provider. Like, as you go through life, you have to find him there. Like, I know you overall, but the little things through life is like, I got to know you as provider. I got to learn how to trust you as my provider. I learned how to trust you in trauma, but I got to learn how to trust you in all aspects of your life because it's so multifaceted, the relationship with him, and I feel like a lot of people don't really teach you that, but it's that full surrender and learning how to trust him and have faith in that aspect too,
Oh, that's good. Yeah.
But one thing I wanted to, when do you really feel like I know that you're more than enough? Do you feel like you could kind of go back over your mind and just like, in that moment, I knew he was more than enough. And, at no matter, at all cost.
Like I said, I went through healing service after healing service. I've been laid hands on so many times. And one time, Cade had told me, I don't believe in God anymore. And it was that moment where I knew, I'm like, we're not going there. We're absolutely not going there. And when I had to be strong, almost take the spiritual leader role, which I know he didn't mean that, but hearing that in that moment.
He was being honest,
he was being so honest.
Yeah.
So honest, but that's not what you need to hear when you're also walking through the fire. So that took a lot, but also it took a lot of counseling. When I was in Mexico for 3 weeks, we had counseling sessions, but it was very faith-based counseling sessions. And there was trauma, and there is trauma, emotional, physical, mental, all the things. And there was a lot of counseling that had to happen. And I feel like the way it played out, it was just like a specific time. And then getting back and then finally getting the news that you're healed also. And I had so much confidence going into the appointment. Like, I already knew I was healed. Now, I want to say it probably happened in Mexico, to be honest. Just being away from distractions, being away from, you know, abuse in whatever form that is. And it just being me and my mom. And even having, like, I was in treatment for 6 hours a day alone for 6 days a week for 3 weeks straight, you know? So, like, I had a lot of alone time. And then also seeing other girls going through it. And men, and, you know, just like getting to hear other people's stories and then seeing victories also. But it's the alone time, the isolation with him. And just, I was so confident whenever the doctor was about to tell me that the cancer it was appearing as scar tissue. I just smirked. I remember Kate and I were in the room and I just smirked and he smirked and I was like, wait, what'd you say? And he said it again and I had it on voice recorder. I'm like, and then we just smiled. And like, in that moment, we just knew. And that was something, it's like I needed him to hear that also. And then with me being so raw on social media, people were watching. And it's like I wanted that for the community also. It was so much bigger than me. Obviously, he gets all the glory. But it's like there was so many people reaching out saying that they've never prayed before. How do I even begin to pray? I do want to pray for you. I just don't know if I'm doing it right. So just for those people is what really, it hit home whenever he said this, he did this, and he still means it. And then people got to see that, you know, through the journey that I went through. Like, that made it all worth it. Absolutely.
I love how you have, like I said, allowed the people in your life and to be able to see the journey. But you're such a champion for other people. And it's never just about you. Like, you're always always so quick to speak life into someone else. And I really believe that is your true purpose. You know, no matter what you've gone through and all of this, you have truly allowed the Lord to transform you and have a voice for other people. And to know that God's word does work. Healing is still for today. And that healing in all aspects, mind, body, soul, and spirit, and that you do have to learn how to be a warrior. And I think as a mother, that natural warrior rises up in you for your children, for your family. Like, there's that oomph that comes up in you. Like,
the sass came out.
Oh, yeah. And the thing is like, even like, say, like a young mom, but you let some time come on and it's there, you know. But when you learn how to do that spiritually, and we're going to take authority of our home, our family, and teaching your children young and being in that atmosphere. And I feel like those are things that people today that go to church and just like you were talking about, that culture of just kind of just going to church, being good, just trying to be a good person. There's so much more than that. So what would you say, like, when someone says, is there more than just culture church? What would you say to someone like that?
Absolutely. Getting plugged into the church was actually huge for me. We go to a big church, and honestly, like, I'm not involved in a small group, but doing away with toxic people in my life, and then just having people to cheer for you and just root for you. And Faith Walk, whenever I went there, that was really big for me, to be able to hear that other people are broken and you're not alone. That was really, really big. So plugging in to a small group in whatever area, going to your Bible studies has helped me. Just having a group of women that are for you, but also can fight for you behind your back, you know, and behind closed doors that, you know, that are just truly rooting for you, was really big also.
And also, too, when you were with those women in Cancun, and was there all women, or was there some men?
No, it was men and women.
Okay,
all
and I feel like, because no one knows like someone else going through it, you know, and you all come in with different layers of your life, you know, but I'm sure that was like very encouraging for. I'm sure you were just like the preacher in the room, you know? But anyway, I'm just so thankful for your journey, and thank you for being raw. Thank you for being so real and allowing people to see that God's real and that his power is real, and that but you got a partner. You know what I
Right.
mean? He's not a genie in a bottle.
Exactly.
And if it's only for the outcome, you miss the whole dynamic
missed
of the
it.
relationship with him in the process. And that's really where you become beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
And in all aspects of you really gain wisdom and understanding is in that process. And so I think you're really have just begun. And so I'm so thankful that you're here and you're sharing your story.